Okay, so I'm trying something different, and so I hope it all works. Okay, so we are at because we have this is so important to get this out, and we are being shadow banned. Oh, excuse me. We are being also banned for life, but nothing is banned for life. Anyway, from TikTok, they shut down my TikTok. Um, anyway, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We are appealing that, but I think it's very, very important that everyone knows that we're over the target. That's what that means. We are absolutely over the target. Um, with they're running scared. And I'm going to explain all that in this 1,579 days since Richard. So I hope since Richard was premeditatedly murdered. They don't like that word. They don't like to be called out for their crime. But we have it officially from the United States government, from the United States Department of Defense, that Richard was uh, murdered on Fort Bliss. There's no other possibility. And we have the receipts. We have the receipts for that. And then, of course, we have so much evidence for that. And with all the responses that we are getting, including um, the retaliation on TikTok, you know, all the response, we're so many positive responses, so much documentation. So it's just flowing in and flowing in, all of the evidence. And this is on top of 4 years of absolutely incredible evidence that we have collected. And now, the evidence coming in connecting Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia with, well, we knew with Danae Katzen and KTSM and FitFam El Paso, but also um, um, her daughter with multiple names. I think her daughter is like, taking lessons from Lalani Hart, because I think Lalani Hart, maybe they're the same age. Maybe they were in the same school together. I don't know. I don't know if Rosa Maria Valdez's daughter speaks Chinese. I don't know. I know Lalani Hart speaks Chinese. But I don't know if they were in the same class, but they seem to be, like, let's have multiple names and be up to no good and be absolutely up to no good. So all of that evidence is coming in, and we are absolutely documenting it and filing it, right? That's what we have to do, document it and filing. You cannot sit on any of the information um, because it has to get out. And even through these 4 years, when we knew that it was being suppressed, that it was being sanitized, that it was being manipulated and tampered with, you still have to file everything over and over and over again. And then new evidence develops because look at this Olivia Troa. I hope I'm saying her name right. She's I think I don't want to speak for her, but if I was her, I would be shaking in my boots. I'd have my go bag. I'd have my go bag, um, ready to go. Maybe, maybe an alternative plan on where to live and everything. Or she could be courageous and stand and face her, um, what she did, because clearly, um, from just a little bit of research on her, because she was mentioned in the media today. She, is one of those. Uh, I guess she took lessons from Veronica Escobar, or she got help from Veronica Escobar, or I don't know. I don't know, but she got into the Trump administration from El Paso and was up to no good. Absolutely up to no good. And clearly, with the Walmart mass shooting case, I can't speak for the other, the whole 2021, this whole sickness thing, and um, that kind of terrible crimes against humanity. I called it crimes against humanity. The whole Cobra strike, crimes against humanity, international crimes against humanity. And she seems to have been part of that. Um, but this whole Walmart thing, um, they were absolutely targeting. This was all political, all for money, um, absolutely orchestrated. And Richard's truth is hidden underneath it because it was also a retaliation. You can't have audits and investigations going on when you have been up to no good. And so I just think that there needs to be a lot of investigations going on around Olivia and her this criminal group that targeted Richard. Um, that includes Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia and her family, including, credit card girl Danae Katzen, and then her husband Jonathan Ambrose, and more and more and more. And it goes, into all this KTSM and FitFem El Paso, and up to Washington State. Um, so all the information is coming to us, and it is putting all the pieces together even more so. Uh, we've broken Richard's case, we've broken the Walmart case, and now it's like this criminal trafficking case, right? It's like the criminal trafficking case is being solved, and this also the assault on citizens and their right to elect, the right to vote. And this is where we are calling out for Judge Medrano, Sam Medrano, to absolutely recuse himself from the Walmart case. He absolutely needs to do that. And, because he has so many conflicts of interest, y'all. They're huge conflicts of interest, and he needs to be recused from the case. They have done everything they can to let time go by and let Patrick Crucius walk. I mean, really, they've done everything they can. And, yes, Patrick Crucius has a severe mental health condition. He has autism. Yes, he was hitting his head when he was 3. Yes, he was in special education, which means that's really bad because they like to mainstream these children as much as they can. And even in the special education class, he was in a certain chair. They had to put him in a different, maybe it wasn't a chair, a different location because he would get frustrated and hit himself and everything. It's internal. It's an internal strife, and but what it does prove is that he wasn't alone during this whole Walmart mass shooting. We got confirmation out of Austin that he wasn't alone, and of course with the whole narrative, and I believe it's absolutely a false narrative. Matter of fact, I don't believe it. I know it. I know it. The evidence confirms that the narrative is a false narrative when it comes to racism, when it comes to white supremacy, when it comes to a hate crime. This was all a false narrative that was put together to shock people, to give a false motive, and so whoever did that um, manifesto, all that needs to be investigated, right? All of that needs to be investigated because clearly, clearly, they were orchestrating this bloody mass shooting. And, now the victims cry out. The victims cry out because they're not getting justice. They're not getting the truth. The shooters, multiple shooters, were claimed over and over again. No one listened to them. No one took them seriously. And now they are walking the streets, right? They are at large. And Patrick Crucius has been sitting um, in isolation for over 5 years. And he is absolutely not capable of pulling something like this off by himself. And they have done everything they can to mistreat him, to violate his civil rights, to walk him, to absolutely walk him. And uh, everyone that cares about this case, everyone that lives in El Paso and cares about the judicial system, it is being proven to be a fraud right now, because it is seeded by um, imposters, and that the um, Walmart case has been totally botched. And absolutely, Judge Medrano needs to recuse himself. Um, I think he should lose his license with this. The same thing with Joe Spencer. The same thing with Bill Hicks, um, for all of their shenanigans and illegal shenanigans, right? Absolutely criminal shenanigans that have harmed so many lives. And it was really amazing today to hear Julie Kelly talk about the J6ers and how she would sit in these court cases. And it reminded me of what's been happening in our case and in El Paso. But sitting in these court cases of these J6ers, and remember that Team Find Richard Halliday, we were there. We were there to hand out the prayer candles, hand out the flyers, try to talk to podcasters, try to get in front of media, try to get in front of some politicians, some senators, some representatives, to get Richard's name out, to get the truth. And so we did get to see, we left a little, or it was very, very cold. It was super cold that day. Oh my gosh, it was like a wet, wet, icy cold. We left a little bit early. Um, and that was a blessing for us, and I live streamed, and you can go see my live stream. It's absolutely published in multiple places. And you can absolutely tell by that live stream that we were surrounded by wonderful people that were very helpful when we got tear gassed, and that we were saying the Lord's Prayer on our megaphone, and that the people there were just amazing. And a million people, I never felt in danger. And I'm not saying that there wasn't instigating. There was a lot of instigating going on. So the question of how many FBI agents were there, or FBI informants or operatives were there, I would like to know that too, because there was a lot of instigating going on, and trying to instigate like a trampling, and instigate people, really more people coming um, into the Capitol building area and everything. But, for the most part, I mean, a huge part, and, there wasn't any. There wasn't. It was just really, really wonderful people. There wasn't any movement to do any kind of criminal activity. And yet we had a lot of people call all of us, domestic terrorists. It was really shocking, especially when you're there and you see that that's a false narrative, and then you realize false narratives are very, very real, and and I'm here to tell you that false narratives in Richard's case is very, very real. And they still have that up, even though we have a cease and desist and they're running from it. Um, they really take advantage of just being lawless, just being criminals. And they are perpetual criminals. That's what they are. And you know what God says about perpetual criminals? That the death penalty needs to be on the table, right? And these are absolutely crimes worthy of the death penalty. And so the false narratives in the Walmart mass shooting are very, very serious false accusations. And one of those was, all this hate crime stuff. And I think the hate crime was done against Richard. That's who the hate crime was done against, right? The hate crime was done by this criminal group, and they put out this narrative, um, you know, uh, attacking President Trump with it, trying to affect the election with it, trying to put the fear of crime into El Pasoans so they could pass bonds, tax the heck out of El Pasoans, even more so, because they are creating, it's like the broken window fallacy. It's a broken windows are good because then I can make some money. No. And it seems in this case, the criminals are causing crime so that they can profit off of the crime, with their law enforcement badges and uniforms. And I'm not saying the badges and the uniforms are bad. It's just that this criminal group works very, very hard to get a badge, to get into the uniform, and then they abuse their power. And I believe that, and they abuse their position. And I believe that this is what Olivia clearly has done. And that's why she's nervous. That's why, if she wasn't doing anything wrong, she wouldn't be nervous. But clearly, or people wouldn't be nervous for her, right? They wouldn't. Um, Pinpoint her out amongst those that need to be nervous. And why are we mentioning it? Because it has to do with El Paso. So they are absolutely looking at El Paso, looking at the politics in El Paso, looking at what happened during the Walmart mass shooting and the aftermath of it, and the blaming of President Trump with it. The Trump administration right now, the president elect's administration right now that's coming together, they're absolutely, they have their eyes on the criminal activity that has been going on in El Paso for years and years and years. And of course, all of our um, hundreds, probably in the thousands, um, probably 1,000. Yeah. I don't know. I have to count them. I have to get my husband to give me a number. Give me a roundabout number, dear. Because it's hundreds and hundreds of filings that we have done, and we, they're right there. They're right there. All organized. This is those Team Farm Richard Halliday behind the scenes. So, and we filed some big ones. Yeah, just recently we filed some big ones, and we have some more big ones coming. Because more and more information is coming out, and we can't just sit on that information. We have to notify this new administration, because these criminals do not think twice about weaponizing their positions and their power against innocent people. Okay, against vulnerable people, innocent people, or for politics' sake, against politicians. And we're getting their number now, right? We are absolutely understanding what they're doing, that they are just ruthless. And Julie Kelly, if you haven't watched it, and I did post it, And there's a few of them out there. You should listen to Julie Kelly because she said for years now, she's been sitting in these court cases against these J6ers that were vulnerable, that didn't have the money to pay big bucks for lawyers, that, um, all kinds of things that made them very vulnerable to these lawyers, to these prosecutors, and that the prosecutors got joy. This is the wrong kind of joy, right? This is the wrong kind of joy, Harris, right? This is the wrong kind of joy. Joy out of hurting innocent people, people that did not do anything, right? Had no prior records, right? And they absolutely were ruthless. And she now, is counting the days until these lawyers, prosecutors will will be held accountable for their lawlessness, their abuse of their power, abuse of their position. Um, she is counting the days till that happens, and she knows their names, and she knows all their names. And so now, there's lots and lots like Olivia that are very nervous about what they what they have done and the people that they have hurt and the lies that they have told and the groups that they have, the criminal groups that they have participated with to affect elections, to even hide elections, right? I mean, the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, since 2015, their judges needed to be elected, and yet they've denied the El Paso community, the El Paso County um, uh, community, the El Paso County community, the ability to vote for their judges on the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. It is just absolutely criminal what they have done. And so this is gets very political because when you're very political and you are infiltrating the uniforms and our beautiful uniforms and our beautiful badges, and then you're misusing the power of those positions and those uniforms and the badges, and you're weaponizing the system against the very people that you swear to uphold the law for, then you know you've committed serious, serious crimes, and there's a lot of them. I mean, it's it's a criminal group, and what did Saint Augustine tell us? Um, you know, if you do not want the law and the sacraments, and you don't want Jesus Christ as your Lord, then you're just going to get a criminal syndicate, a bunch of thieves, a bunch of thieves. And look, we know we have proof, hard proof, that we have a bunch of thieves because we have 37 trillion dollars in debt. Just think about the unfunded liabilities. The last time I heard, it was like $220 trillion in unfunded liabilities. I mean, maximum amount of money, right? And, what do we have for them? Our tanks should be gold. Our roads should be, I mean, everything should be picobello. There shouldn't be one person not living in absolute luxury. You're talking that kind of money is like blows you away when you start seeing what you can buy for it. And clearly, that's not our situation. So clearly, we have been robbed. Clearly, we have been absolutely robbed. And that's why this whole justice system in El Paso is being exposed. It's just, like it's been exposed as being a fraud. And the Walmart mass shooting case is so important in all of this because it is Richard's case. They're combined, they're intertwined, and Judge Medrano needs to recuse himself because of his conflicts of interest. Um, he's just been really rotten, y'all. He's just been really rotten, and he needs to recuse himself. So thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you, Michelle Hines. Your discoveries and uncovering blows my mind. Thank you so much. We have, and it blows our mind too. Can you imagine? Team Find Richard Halliday, because this is not, you know, even though the live streams are kind of like one, I'm trying to figure out this computer and stuff, but the the real work is behind the scenes. You know, the it, yes, night after night coming on, people have said, "Oh my gosh, how have you done that for over 4 years?" I don't know, by the grace of God, right? By the grace of God, God's given me the strength for the love of my child. Richard, can you imagine? He was dismembered. He was brutally murdered by his own, and they covered it up, and these generals lied to our face. CID lied to our face, and they smeared him to our face, and they smeared him to the media, and the media knew it. The media knew it, and the media did not get the story from us. They went ahead with the false story, and they put it out there. And can you, when that happens, you stop and you say, this is systemic. This is their operating procedure. This is a criminal group, and they're doing it to other people, not just Richard. And yes, Richard's case is I think it's probably the biggest case in U.S. history. And yes, we have discovered, because of everything going on behind the scenes, people that love El Paso, people that love Juarez, right? That love, you know, I was born at White Sands. So, you know, you have people that know and realize what has been done to Juarez, what has been done to El Paso, what has been done to the courts, what has been done to children, hundreds of thousands of children, the criminal trafficking, the organ trafficking, the weapons trafficking, the ammunition trafficking, the drug trafficking, what that has done to families, the child trafficking, the child corn trafficking and industry, the emergency intake center where we got it from, evidence, hard evidence from the director of emergency services that said, you know, even guards were forbidden to even look in those tent windows and everything, look in there, because what was going on with the children at the emergency intake center, which was, um, uh, what was that guy from Fifth Fem El Paso, uh, who was, eh, in charge of these people. What was going on was so bad. And Richard had wanted no part of it. You see, he was, and I know there people are going to say, but wait a minute, the intake center started after Richard was brutally code red murdered. And I'm like, yes, but they already had it going on over and over and over again. And then in 2021, right after the new administration came in, they built it up. They built it up and made it worse. And now we have hundreds of thousands of children that are mostly dead. And, these children are all the way up to 17 years old. And we're getting information that there was um, organ trafficking. I just want to just cry. It's so horrific. It's so horrific. And then people are saying this and they're like, "Oh, well, take a look at this." And we're looking, and what is it? Bill Hicks is a usurper of his position, and he was scheming. Then we're doing open records and we're putting it together. He was scheming with Joe Spencer. He was scheming with Bob Moore. He was scheming with Justin Underwood to remove and replace Yvonne Rosales, right? Bill Hicks, who before that had all kinds of money problems. He had let me tell you, he had so many problems. And all of a sudden he gets appointed and he can't even do that properly. He can't even do that. And now he's a usurper. And then he has these deals, right? Um, that he admits it in a newspaper that he has to say he's a Republican, right? Because he has to admit it. That's bribery. That's why he couldn't sign the anti-bribe line and messed up his whole uh, recess appointment where no one had to look at anything. He didn't have to go through an election like Yvonne Rosales where they look at everything with a fine-tooth comb, and you're vetted. And then they schemed to remove her and replace her. And it was tough. It was really tough. And then we find out that, oh my gosh, if he's a usurper, what is, we're getting these autopsies, and I see Raskin Ortiz. Okay, who is he? I look him up. He's a medical examiner. And then I find out that other people have put in complaints about him because he's illegal, that he broke his visa. And then I find out that, wait a minute, the Texas Constitution says that you have to be an American citizen to be to be a medical examiner. Why? And then, you look into the position. Why? Why is that so important? Well, because you are a judge determining the cause and manner of death of a person in cases that are capital cases, that are murder cases, right? That could be murder cases. Yes, you have to you have to be an American citizen to be a judge. Yes, you do. And he gets paid 430 plus $1,000 a year, and he's illegal and he violated his visa. And what are the authorities doing? What is Veronica Escobar doing? She's the one that approved him. She's the one that approved his payments, his salary. She made him valid, I guess, right? In that position. If she would just say, heck no, and cut off his payment, then he would be gone. But she approved him. She approved him when she was the county mayor, the county judge, right? Just like she approved the payments for all of these judges that are not even judges. They are just criminals. Because let me tell you, they're not like you and me that, and I don't, maybe you know it better than I do, but I've had to get like a paralegal degree out of this whole thing. I didn't know that the judges on the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court had to be elected. I did not know that court had full jurisdiction, county-wide jurisdiction. I did not know that. I did not know that when a court with that much power has full county-wide jurisdiction, that the Texas Constitution says, hey, stop. The people have to vote for these judges. They got too much power. The people have to vote for these judges. You can't appoint these judges. They don't have any elected judges above them to restrain their let's just say, uh, the temptations of going wayward, right? So the people have to scrutinize them through an election process to get the best, with the best character that they entrust with this kind of power. And when you understand it like that, you're like, thank you, Texas Constitution. Thank you so much. When is Texas Constitution Day? We need to celebrate. Get out the champagne. Let's make a chocolate cake. Let's have, some kind of band come and let's dance, because we need to celebrate the Texas Constitution that honors the people and gives them power over judges that could go so wayward and ruin our lives. And yet, since 2015, that has been like a quilt has been, a cover has been over it. And don't tell me that these judges didn't know. Don't tell me that the Council of Judges didn't know. Don't tell me that representatives, the ones that changed the amendment, didn't know. Don't tell me that lawyers didn't know all the cases. They didn't do their homework for their clients. What's going on here? Right? And since 2015, all these cases could be really botched. Thousands of cases. That blows my mind. That means that there is a seismic earthquake going on in the courthouse right now. And that's what we're hearing, that there is a seismic earthquake going on in the courthouse right now. And think about this, and how did we wrap our mind around all this? Because all of a sudden on social media, we see a picture of our son popping up. And in the background of this picture was information. And where did that information lead us? To the courthouse, to the jail, to the jailhouse. Who? To where these magistrate judges, the magistrate jail that handles all the orders, these illegal orders with no authority, they process it. So where Patrick Crucius was taken, he was arraigned illegally, processed illegally with these orders that were illegal, that went to that very office that illegally allowed somebody, and we're waiting to find out who, allowed somebody to illegally access the magistrate criminal jail computers in that office to put it on a screen and then take a snapshot of a picture of our son and stick it on social media. Now that's so criminal. That breaches the security there. That means, and guess who runs that office? Judge Medrano's wife is in that office. Judge Medrano's wife is in that office. And the Walmart mass shooting case is covering up our son's truth. Our son's truth. Our son's criminal complaints on the criminal trafficking that connected that kind of activity with Fort Bliss. And there's more. So you've got boom, 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 3 hits real quick. You've got the usurper DA, you've got the illegal chief medical examiner, and then you've got a whole panel of individuals, judges that have no authority. None. Zippo. It's like me going there and putting on a robe and putting a gavel in, like it's Halloween or something. And I'm going, hey, I'm going to be the judge. No, it doesn't work that way. We have something called the Texas Constitution. We have something called the rule of law, and that is there to protect us. And yet, I don't think we honor it enough. And how we have exposed all of them is because once we figured out that these people are lawless, then you can figure out the laws that they broke. Oh, you didn't even sign your anti-bribe line. You're not even an American citizen. You broke your visa. You're totally have no authority in your spot. You weren't elected. You have no authority in your spot. And then you document it all, and then you submit it. You submit it we to places where you think the people would care, like the SB4. These are all uh, people that are supposed to care about the people's rights, right? Civil law attorneys, civil rights attorneys. SB4, the civil rights attorneys. We submitted to all of them. We then heard that Bill Hicks was trying to recruit from all the law schools. Wait a minute, he's a usurper, and he's bleeding. He's bleeding people because they're like, oh, wait a minute, something's not right here. I can't be associated with him. I got to leave. Out the door, out the door, out the door. Well, then he's like, well, where am I going to get help? Oh, Penny Hamilton, you're the illegal magistrate judge. You should just illegally retire and illegally collect this money that was approved by the county judge, in this case, Samaniago, right? For her, I guess he has to approve the money, right? For her retirement, I guess. I don't know. People tell me. Tell me where who approves it. I think it's him, because before him it was Veronica Escobar. They have to approve the money. And where does she go? She goes to work with Bill Hicks. So you got Penny Hamilton, the very fake judge that unlawfully, without any authority, processes and arraigns Patrick Crusius, goes to work for the usurper. She's there with the usurper. And he's, like trying to recruit from the law schools. And so what do? We spend a whole night getting as many emails as we can and writing a notification saying to all the deans of the law schools that we could possibly find, hundreds, right? And we're like, please know that your young graduates, they need to beware of Bill Hicks. He's up to no good. He's a usurper. Because look at what they did to our young volunteer sons and daughters in our armed forces. Look at what they've done to them. I can't tell you how high the suicide rate has gone up. It's terrible. And, I spoke to, and I'm thinking about Elder Fernandez. That needs to be reinvestigated. That whole thing, it's just and that's why we're working so hard, because when this all was going on, we were like, wait a minute, this is our son's case. What did they do to they absolutely targeted our son. Look at Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. She targeted Trump. She went over to Mexico and she said, Mexico should boycott America because of Trump during that whole thing. I mean, you can't make this up. And then she comes over to the United States and says, but wait a minute, I want money out of that Walmart victims fund. I want money out of that Walmart victims fund. Give it to me. But I'm going to tell everybody in Mexico to boycott. I'm going to use my fake status. Well, it wasn't so fake. I mean, it wasn't entirely fake. Um, her sons are victims, right? Her sons are victims. But she absolutely targeted Richard. She targeted him when he was alive. She targeted him after he wasn't alive. She targeted us. She targeted the Walmart case. She targeted, um, yeah, it's um, it's just so it just goes on and on. And so when, not when, it's coming. It's already in motion because Julie Kelly said so. Julie Kelly said so. She's been on this. She knows. Um, so many people have said so. And I think the American people have said so. I think this whole election was a mandate, and the mandate was for accountability. We're so sick of our loved ones being targets of these groups that weaponize their positions, get into these positions illegally, right? Um, scheming, colluding, all this stuff for the riches of this country to get it by thievery, to get it by con jobs, to get it by, crime, to get it by crime, and then hurting others. They're willing to murder. This criminal group is willing to murder. And so many, not just Richard, so many. And look at what they did to Glennon Oakley Jr. The day of August 3rd, 2019, he was absolutely beautiful talking to Wolf Blitzer on CNN. Absolutely beautiful. Such a proud American, such a proud military soldier. I'm a soldier. I'm trained. He was so beautiful and he was humble that he could help. He didn't feel like he even did enough, but he was humble and he was being as truthful as he could. Absolutely. I've watched it so many times. He was so beautiful. And the very next day, they had absolutely gotten to him and pounded him with their retaliation BS, with their social media retaliation BS. And then what followed was even worse. And yeah, it's like looking at what Richard went through with the absolutely severe continuous retaliation, from framing to using the tools that we've entrusted to our leadership. That's why we absolutely know that Major General Clem Coward was in on it, because of the retaliation he gave Richard. The same thing with David Park. The same thing with Sergeant Ruggiero. Same thing with Lieutenant Colonel Michael Roddick. They were absolutely in on this, and they have to be held accountable for what they did. They have to be held accountable. And we're so happy that the American people mandated accountability now with this election, because they're sick of it too. Think about their grandmothers that died, their grandfathers that died, that had to die alone. Look at what we had to go through with my dad when all of this was going on, and they were like, "Oh, you have to put a mask on before you go in the hospital, or when kids can't come, kids can't." No way. My dad is going to have his great grandbabies around him 100%, looking at him straight in the face, kissing him. My dad is not going to die alone in a hospital room with people absolutely insane mandates. And so we had to kind of clean out our whole master bedroom and hire a couple of um, nurses to help us through this. And anyone could come and visit him anytime. Anyone could come and hold his hands and pray with him anytime. Any grandbaby could come and well, his grandbabies are older, his great grandbabies. Anybody could come and hug him and give him a kiss anytime. And I have to say, and it because we miss him, but my dad, we were singing hymns. He died in a room full of people that loved him. We were singing hymns. Our priest was there. We were praying with him, and he went peacefully. And think about the families that did not get that. That did not get that because of these insane mandates that were going on at the time. Think about what our military was going through. The best of the best, our best pilots. Now you have them, you know, the I can't say the word myocarditis or whatever, these heart problems through the roof, right? Um, all of their training, years and years of training, and having to be fit, having to be so self-disciplined, and being forced, not even given a choice, and now their health is shot. Is shot. That's why, you have all these excuses for uh, this amazing victory by President Trump. But the truth is, he got the mandate because the other administration gave so much pain to people. There wasn't any joy. And I'll tell you this, it gave me creepy creeps when Julie Kelly said that she watched these lawyers have joy while ruining and destroying others' lives. That's how sick they were and are. And in Richard's case, um, going through the months of vile and vulgar phone calls, so bad to the point where we had to study real hard how to trace burner phones. How to trace burner phones and to test it and everything. And we did it. And where did they go to? Toronto, Canada, the White House, NATO, FBI Seoul, Korea, Santa Clara, California, Stanford University, Silicon Valley, Google, right? That area, that area. The call didn't go to Google. I'm just saying Silicon Valley, where these intelligence people are. That's where these phone traces went to. Now, you're testing them, they're going to a house here or whatever. And then all of a sudden, you test the numbers of the vile, vulgar messages that you're getting for months and months, and that's where they're going. What happened to Richard was so severe that they had to cover it up because they would lose their jobs and it would expose who they really are. And I don't think the whole truth with Vanessa Guillen has been out there. I think a huge part of it is, but I don't know if the motive has been revealed, the true motive. So this is huge stuff. And today, the major point is that there's so much evidence against Judge Sam Medrano in the Walmart mass shooting case. You have over 5 years of the delay, and we have evidence of why he delayed it, and it's so bad. It's so many conflicts of interest. Delay, and he should recuse himself. That's the message. And so if you can help us get that message out, that Judge Medrano has been up to so much bad in the Walmart case that he needs to recuse himself. And, absolutely. So thank you so much. I know I'm very late burning the midnight oil tonight, but we're very energized because we're getting all of this information now, and that information has to be documented and has to be filed. And so, okay, we have 1,000, we need 1,000 more that we're going to file. We're just getting started here because, all of that foundation has been laid. And now it's time for the accountability, and the accountability is coming. It's one step after the next. God's timing is perfect. And so, even with this TikTok ban, that we're not letting it go. We're absolutely had to respond to that. Um, and I want everyone to know that that was constant retaliation against this criminal group targeting us, targeting our content, because they're part of the criminal group of suspects that murdered Richard, that are part of this Walmart mass shooting case. And, and maybe some of the intelligence that are not too happy that we acquired FitFem El Paso. And FitFem El Paso is also every day they are using our brand names, they're using our LLC, and they are abusing it. And this is criminal. And so, they're uh, we've put it on the shelf, see um, if they would do the right thing. But they're not. They're they're making more and more crime for themselves, and so anyway, yeah, it's we're documenting it and we're submitting it, and the accountability is coming. And Olivia is just one example of those that are nervous for what they did, and I wanted to connect her with, because she is El Paso, because she's connected to this criminal group. Absolutely. So thank you so much. God bless you. And please share the information. Bye bye.